let's imagine that you have a chance to talk with our Minister of Health. What would be three evidence-based reasons that should be paused this vaccine, mandatory vaccine in Croatia?
Number one, the clinical trials don't look at the endpoint of cancer. It's never been proven to prevent any cancer. Two, it's been proven to cause death in young people. It has been proven to cause severe injuries. Three, it has a very potent aluminum adjuvant in it. And we know that aluminum is a poison. Aluminum is toxic to every human organ, including the brain. Why would we want to mandate that to children?
For example, if you have power for the next 5 years to make, for example, plan to research about this vaccine, about this cancer, what would you fund?
Well, I think you could actually use, I don't think it needs study, Andrea, in the sense that it's not proving to have a benefit and it's proving to have detriment. So I wouldn't invest in research, to be honest with you. But if I were going to invest in research, my very first step would be to compare people who got the HPV vaccine to people in a new clinical trial who got a real placebo. One of the things that Secretary of Health and Human Services Kennedy has said is that all new vaccines have to use true inert placebos, meaning that there's no biological effect of the control. When you have a control that has aluminum in it that's going to potentially cause autoimmune conditions, that's a fake experiment. That is comparing like one brand of cigarette to another brand of cigarette. That's what they did in the Gardasil clinical trials. That's unacceptable. So the other thing is I would just look at young people, probably in Croatia, there are young people who got the Gardasil vaccine and people who didn't. I would do a thorough health inventory of those people, see what the differences are. I think you'll see some.
And then what could be reason, for example, Croatia, what could be reason that they want to do this mandatory?
Well, sadly, Andrea, there are lots of incentives from the pharmaceutical industry. You know, there's a lot of money at stake here. So one of the things that I consider to be a terrible conflict of interest in the United States is that scientists in the National Cancer Institute get money from Merck for their contribution to the technology in the HPV vaccines. The US government makes millions of dollars from Gardasil. And it may be that there are similar financial arrangements. The pharmaceutical industry is one of the most, if not the most, powerful global industry. So I feel confident that your Minister of Health is aware of economic incentives that you probably aren't, or the public probably are not aware of.
Yeah, there is in these pages of MSD company, there is a funding inside in Croatia. I published in my Facebook profile and everybody can see how much money they receive from this company, especially this who is promoting now. But just for the end, what is most important question for you? Let's imagine that parents from Croatia can ask you a question about this vaccine and what they should do in case they need to vaccinate their children, where they can find proof or something that can help them for making this right decision for their kids.
Well, you can certainly come to the website of the organization where I'm president called childrenshealthdefense.org. It was founded by now Secretary of Health and Human Services Kennedy. We have a lot of information on the website about Gardasil, about the HPV vaccines, about the teenagers who've been injured. I also recommend to people, as you mentioned, the book that I co-authored called The HPV Vaccine on Trial, Seeking Justice for a Generation Betrayed. I think if parents look One of the things I always tell people to do also, Andrea, is go to the product insert. What is the information that the pharmaceutical company gives to the Food and Drug Administration and to doctors? It's called the product insert. That will tell you a lot about the clinical trials, about what has been reported as adverse events. That's another very important thing for parents to read. Parents need to educate themselves. I wish I could tell you that the doctors and the government will tell you the truth, but I don't think you can assume that. So parents need to do their own research. It's too important.
And when we're talking about money, for the end, I want to say that I am not in any kind of conflict of interest. I'm not receiving any money from anybody. I investigate this because I want the truth. What about you?
Same thing. I work for an organization. I have no ties to any industry whatsoever. I am in this because I have a vaccine-injured child. That's how I got into it. And I realized that the world needed more truthful information from people who'd experienced what's really happening firsthand.